Everybody has all these opinions about the Cleveland Browns and what their situation should look like. You want to know who their quarterback should be? Whoever proves to be the best quarterback on their roster. Doesn't matter if it's Dillon Gabriel. Doesn't matter if it's Shedeur Sanders. But we need to stop villainizing both of these young men. The other day, obviously, we know that the Browns played the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia on Saturday. And, obviously they won that game. But, the main story is Dillon Gabriel played that game. And I actually thought Dillon Gabriel played pretty well the other day against the Eagles. I know he had that interception. I kind of put that. So it's difficult because I just don't think it was a really good concept and design of the play. That's besides the point. But let's be honest. The Browns want Dillon Gabriel to beat out Shedeur Sanders for this start. Or I wouldn't say for the starting job. I'll say this. The Browns definitely want Dillon Gabriel ahead on the depth chart over Shedeur Sanders. Whether that's starter this year or starter going forward, that's what they want. Because the draft capital that they spent on both of these guys tells the full story. Obviously, Dillon Gabriel got drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And when you look at, the Browns drafting Dillon Gabriel as high as they did, understand this. When you're watching the draft and you see a player go way higher than he's originally being mocked, or a player gets drafted and you're like, wow, that really doesn't make any sense that player just got drafted there. You want to know why that is? It's because the coach made it a point to say, hey, I want this player on my team. This guy's going to fit my system. I have a plan for this guy. Please make sure that he is the draft pick because I want him to be my starting quarterback, wide receiver, whatever it may be. There's something that the head coach really likes and they stand on the table for a guy. And that's what happened with Dillon Gabriel here. And to me, I do think that both Sheduer and Dillon Gabriel fit what Kevin Stefanski wants to do. And it just really depends. I think that this is going to come down to, is Dillon Gabriel, let's just say, for example, Shedeur Sanders ends up being an 81 overall on Madden. Can Dillon Gabriel be a 79? And if that's the case, I think they'll want to stick with Dillon Gabriel because whether you like it or not, Shedeur Sanders puts more attention on your football team than a lot of NFL coaches want on their football team. That's why Shedeur Sanders fell so far in the draft. Because when you're talking about third, fourth, fifth round picks, those guys are backup quarterbacks. And you know what they always say about backups? You don't want a backup that makes a lot of noise. Right. And Shedeur Sanders makes a lot of noise. His camp, they're very vocal. His circle, they're very vocal. They understand that, Shedeur Sanders is a good football player and they want Sheduer in the best position to succeed. I understand that. I get it. But I don't think that NFL teams necessarily prefer that. They just don't. They don't prefer that. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with the whole Dillon Gabriel situation, where it's just they definitely want him to be the future starter for their football team because I think this is a Stefanski decision. And I don't think it was a Stefanski decision to draft Shedeur Sanders. And if I'm being honest with you, if Kevin Stefanski had his way, I think that Shedeur Sanders wouldn't have gotten picked by this football team. Because I don't think he wants the type of attention that he's getting from Shedeur Sanders. And, when you talk about the Browns organization, who are a few years removed from trading for Deshaun Watson and everything that went on there, that's why I think Stefanski wanted to avoid that. But, now he has a situation where he has two rookie quarterbacks and they're competing and they're battling, and may the best man win. If you end up getting a franchise quarterback out of one of these two guys, right? Shedeur Sanders was there late in the draft. Hey, we have a chance to have two guys that have the potential to be starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's take that. Let's take him up on that. And that's where I think the Browns came from when, they ended up drafting Sheduer. And I wonder, going back to the whole draft day thing where it's like, if they knew that what happened this offseason was going to happen, where they were in the headlines for the Shedeur Sanders situation and him being, pretty much a backup quarterback, I wonder if they would have taken him knowing all this. Like, I still would have taken him if I were the Browns, just because I do think Shedeur Sanders is better than Dillon Gabriel, by the way. Like, I think Dillon Gabriel he has the potential to be a nice football player. I think Shedeur Sanders has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback. I don't think I see that in Dillon Gabriel. And one thing that I need to get off my chest, can we stop? And I don't care if you're pro Sheduer, I don't care if you're anti Sheduer. Stop turning these young men into the villains. Stop. Before this offseason, who cared about the Cleveland Browns outside of Cleveland Browns fans? Now everybody has an opinion on who their quarterback should be. Everybody has all these opinions about the Cleveland Browns and what their situation should look like. You want to know who their quarterback should be? Whoever proves to be the best quarterback on their roster. Doesn't matter if it's Dillon Gabriel. Doesn't matter if it's Shedeur Sanders. But we need to stop villainizing both of these young men, because it's football at the end of the day. And yes, there is a competition. And people do feel a type of way about Sheduer, whether you like him or whether you don't like him. But this is all unnecessary. And this is why I go back to, would Kevin Stefanski make that pick if it were up to him? Because of this, people are pitting these two against each other, which is why I was very surprised when the Browns ended up taking Shedeur Sanders, because it's like, it's risky because you have two rookie quarterbacks, and whether it's fair or whether it's not fair, these two are going to be tied to the hip with each other, and people are going to have opinions, and they're going to say certain type of things about either quarterback. Whatever quarterback they like, the other quarterback's not that good. I don't get it. Let these two play it out. Obviously, Sheduer had a very good preseason game last week. Dillon Gabriel, I thought he was fine in this game, to be honest with you. We'll see what happens. We still have a preseason game left. Hopefully both of these guys can play in that game and prove why one of these two should be the guy going forward for the Browns.